Now, when a question arises, which lens would you choose for the landscape photography? Definitely the answer will be wide angle, and it's not a mistake or a misconception when you choose the wide angle lens for the landscape photography. Now, to choose only the wide angle lens and to think that the wide angle lens is enough for the landscape photography, that is the mistake or the misconception by most of the beginners landscape photographers. So a decision to choose which lens to be used when depends on the subject of interest, where the subject of interest is located in your scene. So in this video I'm going to talk about the range of focal length from wide to zoom, right from 16 to 400 mil, and why this range of focal length is important for the landscape photography, and simultaneously I'll tell you what are the lenses, that is the professional lenses available for this range of focal length. So watch more right after this. Now I have categorized this range of focal length from 16 to 400 mil into three categories. That is, the first category is 16 to 24 mil, the second category from 24 to 100 mil, and the third category from 100 to 400 mil. Let's talk about the category 1, that is from 16 to 24 mil. In this category, the lenses available are wide and has the distortion effect. So when do you use this wide angle lens? When you have the subject of interest in the foreground, midground, and the background areas, and you want to include all this subject in a single frame, especially you can take the advantage of the distortion effect of the lens and you can create your foreground more interesting. So what are the lenses available in this range of focal length? 16 to 35 f4L EF lens, 16 to 35 f2.8 EF lens, and 15 to 35 f2.8 RF lenses. Here's the image I have taken with the wide angle lens, and if you see here the focal length is 24 mil. In this image we have the foreground, midground, and the background areas. We have the foreground interests here in this rock and the small cascade with the beautiful pattern of the rocks. In the midground we have this solid rock with the waterfall here, and in the background we have the waterfall here with the sunlight coming from this area. So this is a good example of how you include the foreground element, midground, and the background elements in a single frame. Now coming to the second category, that is 24 to 100 mil. In this range of focal length you don't need f2.8 lenses for shooting the landscape photography. Most of the time you will be shooting from f8 to f16. So when do you use these lenses? When you have the subject of interest in the midground and the background areas, and you don't have any subject in the foreground areas, you can eliminate the foreground areas with zooming the lens, and you can create the frame by subject of interest in the midground and the background areas. And this lens is a versatile lens. I always keep this lens in my camera bag when I'm traveling. So what are the lenses available within this range of focal length? The lenses available are 24 to 105 f4 lenses, 24 to 70 f2.8 lenses. Now the third category, that is the focal length from 100 to 400 mil. Now in this focal length you don't need f2.8 lenses for the landscape photography. Again, you will shoot mostly from f8 to f16. At this focal length you can include the midground and the background areas of interest, as well as you can take some intimate shots. You can focus on the textures, patterns, lines, and layers of the subject in the midground or the background areas, and you can create some abstract shots. Some photographers are okay with 70 to 200 mil, but for me I always need some extra reach up to 400 mil. The extra reach to the subject is always important for me. Guys, I want to show you why it's important for me to have some extra range of focal length up to 400 mil. You can see this image I have taken with this 175 mil focal length, and in this image if you see carefully, the area of interest is this area with the rolling hills and the mist in between these hills. And if you see this image is not very impactful because the subject is relatively small in this image. Now after taking this image, what I decided to zoom in a little bit, and I came out with this image which I have taken with here. If you see, it's 300 mil focal length, and this image is more impactful than the previous because the subject of interest is more emphasized in this area. So guys, there is a reason why I need more extra reach of my focal length so that I can create more interesting images. Now I have 3 lenses available right now with me, and these 3 lenses are within this range of focal length. This lens is 16 to 35 f4 EF lens. This lens is 24 to 105 mm RF lens, and this is 100 to 400 mm EF lens. Now the question is, if you are given option to choose one lens among these 3 lenses, which lens would you choose? Write your comment in the comment section below. Which lens would you choose and why? For me, I'll choose the most versatile lens among these 3 lenses, and the most versatile lens is this one. This is 24 to 105 mm f4 lens. It's a very versatile lens, and I call this lens as a quick lens or the opportunistic lens. Now when you're traveling and the weather or the light is changing so fast, at that particular time you can't keep on changing this lens and this lens. This is a wide angle and this is a zoom lens, 100 to 400 mm. So at that moment, if you have this lens attached with your camera, you don't need to change your lens between this wide and the zoom lens again and again to take several images. Because your lens has the ability to go both the wide and the zoom, you can take different images with different composition. At 24 mm, you can include all the subjects in the foreground, midground and background areas. Whereas by zooming in up to 105 mm, you can take the midground as well as the background area of interest. So that is the reason why I call this lens as a quick lens, because you don't need to change your wide and the zoom lens again and again. When the light is changing so fast, you can take those images with only single lens. Now as a landscape photographer, if you are interested in the astrophotography, I would recommend you to take a lens with the f2.8 aperture value. That is, the lens available is 16 to 35 f2.8 EF lens or the 15 to 35 f2.8 RF lens. Now we can go with the third-party lens available in the market as well. Now I have the lens from the Samyang 14 mm lens, that is 2.8 aperture value. This lens is little bit wide and you get distortion more than what you get in the 16 or 15 mm. So when I get a distortion in the image with this lens, I have to crop the image. Now this is another third-party lens. This is Sigma 100 to 400 mm, and this lens is excellent. I bought this lens 6 months back. Performance wise, this lens goes head to head with this Canon EF 100 to 400 mm lens. So everyone, hope this video is very informative for you, and if you like this video, please subscribe and help to grow my channel. And that's it for today's video. See you next time, and thanks for watching this video.